Welcome back to STL TV Live. I'm Arika Parr, still with my guest, Jeff Schweikert, President and CEO of Home Care Assistance of St. Louis. And this is a sad topic, but it's a necessary topic that we're discussing. How to have the conversation with your loved one, your mom or your dad, about what happens to them if they get sick suddenly or even if it's a gradual process. I don't know what I would say, what I would do if anything happened to my mom. We're very close. I'm an only child.
Wow.
And
I am myself. So.
Oh, you are too?
Yeah.
Oh, Twinkies. Yeah. So I don't know what I would do. I don't even know how to have the conversation with her. What are some tips you can give me?
Well, I think a good way to start, especially we all run really fast and active lives nowadays. There's a good trigger event that's actually coming up the day after tax season this year. It's the National Healthcare Directive Day. And it's a day to focus on putting some of those types of things like advanced directives. If something ever were to happen to me and I was in a position where I couldn't speak for myself, what would I want to have take place? And as well, it's a good opportunity to consider appointing somebody that I'd want to be that spokesperson for me. That's one exercise that I myself, I'm a dad, I have 3 kids, and I want to make sure that I've got all of those types of things lined up so that, I can be around to be there for my kids if something were to happen to me. So in my case, it was a fairly easy conversation. Mom, Dad, I just did all this for myself. I wouldn't know the first thing, to do for you all.
So then you put yourself as an example.
Exactly.
So then they didn't feel offended or uneasy, and so it was a great avenue to just talk about it.
Absolutely. And we actually had a situation happen where my dad was having a surgical procedure done at one of the area hospitals, and my stepmom was getting herself ready to go visit at the hospital. She had a fall, had to call 911. Paramedics showed up. And because they were each other's spokesperson, none of the other family members had any say in anything. The only thing we were able to do is get the paramedic to at least take her to the same hospital where my dad was at.
Right. Wow.
And, it was one of those, we're kind of in a bad situation. My dad was sedated and under, and if something needed to take place for her,
you couldn't even have control over what happened, really.
Exactly.
Wow. So that's where Home Care Assistance of St. Louis steps in. These are really important conversations that, you're making me think about a lot of stuff, because what types of insurance should people have, or what are processes that should be in place for things like this? Or is that what your company does?
We don't sell insurance. Our role is we provide the caregivers that would come into people's homes, but we have a very deep network of resources that we work with across the community. And I think a lot of times when people are faced with having to make a lot of these types of decisions, there are a group of people that are called geriatric care managers. Geriatric care managers are specialists in being able to help people do advanced planning, figuring out what resources that they have, what resources are available. If there are some different options out there, if the person wants to stay in their home.
So a geriatric care manager can come to my house?
Absolutely.
And kind of conduct the conversation between my mom and I?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that takes the pressure off.
It
Thanks,
does.
Jeff.
It does. And they would help figure out what are some of the different options, what are some things that, in respect of you or your mom's wishes, what are some of the things that could be taken into consideration. If your mom is on the fence, as an example, and doesn't know if she'd like to move into a community-based setting or she'd like to be able to stay into her own home, they could also help out figuring out
the pros and cons.
The pros and cons, or let's take a look based on what you're looking for. Here's a couple of communities that would fit that need for you. And that's where a geriatric care manager could really play an interesting and important role for that conversation to take place between you and your mom.
So if any viewers wanted to learn more about geriatric care managers and the processes about getting their loved one to the next step and next phase in life, how can they contact you?
They can reach us either through our direct telephone number, 314-863-8989, or through our website at homecareassistancestlouis.com.
ST Louis, homecareassistancestlouis.com, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being my guest today. You've really given us so much information, and it's a hard conversation, but one that we should definitely have with our loved ones. So when we come back, we'll just talk more about what's going on in St. Louis. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for more STL TV Live. It's coming up right after this.